Hello and welcome to Rhythm Paradise Megamix. This is Nudge, and I will be doing the commentary as we go. For anyone who is new to my channel, I've been a fan of Rhythm Heaven for a few years now. Started in 2017, and Megamix was always the game that I always wanted to get. And of course, the problem is, like every single one of these games, I've played all 4 of them now. No, all 5, because I played the Rhythm Tengoku Arcade Edition. But anyway, all that, I've done all this through emulator. I've never actually, used a system like this in my hand, which is not ideal, but it has its own charm, I guess you can say. Because there's a few things that you have to configure, there's a few, issues going around, and of course, when you get to the bottom of it, especially when I played Minna no Rhythm Tengoku for the Wii, that was great, because the input lag was barely there, and I had a lot of fun doing that. Now, with the Rhythm Heaven DS and Megamix, not really the case. There's still a few really weird things going on, but I'm going to try and do as much of it as I can. Now, actually, you know what? No. You're gonna see what I mean, but basically, some of this playthrough is gonna be a little bit cut short, because there's a few things that I'm not gonna be doing in this playthrough, mostly having to do with the fact that I have an actual save file that I can go into and do stuff there instead of having to complete a second one. But for purposes of this playthrough, I'm going to be making a second save file. So, again, next point to cover. I am blind. I cannot see anything on the screen, and this means that all these files that I'm recording are strictly audio-based. No video is being recorded at all, which means, for one, I can make the file sizes much smaller on my local hard drive, and for two, I don't need to worry about lag, because most of the time the screen is minimized anyway, so there's barely any lag. And also, for this reason, I'm going to be guiding you through as if you really would not be able to see anything. Now, one thing that I'm not going to be doing very often is reading text, because to me, the story text in this game is more of an annoyance than anything. I just think it's annoying, I think it gets in the way, I don't really care for it, so I'm just going to skip through most of the text and not really care. I could read it. I have OCR enabled, so in theory I could, but nah, I'm not gonna do it. So, before we get started, I'm gonna quickly look at the controls of the 3DS that I'm gonna be using. So, 3DS has an A button, a B button, it has an X and Y button, which I don't think you use very much. Has an L and an R shoulder buttons. You only use those in a few different contexts, and I'm not actually sure if I will ever be able to use those. It has a D-pad, up, down, left, right. It also has a circle pad, which for me is assigned to the arrow keys. Use that in one specific thing, which I'm not really going to talk about very much. The D-pad is used much more. And then there's also a pause button. I think it's the start button, but it could also be something else. I'm not sure exactly what it's called. So, when you first boot up the game, you get this screen, and you press A, it makes that chime noise, and now you're in the file select menu. This file select menu wraps infinitely, so I'm not sure exactly how many files there are. I think there's 4. And when you click on a file that's actually loaded, by that I mean a file that you've created already, this is an edge sound. You hear this when you're at the top of the menu. The first option in this menu is a vertical menu up and down. This option is to start playing, load your file. The other two are to change your name, I think, and then to delete. I'm not sure what the requirement is for deleting your file. Let's click on it and find out. I'm going to read the screen, or at least try to.
Now for 3 seconds. Now delete request. Now for 3 seconds. Now stay. N, D, space, space.
Okay, so I'm guessing what it's trying to do is... I'm not sure what it is, but it's asking you to press certain buttons for 3 seconds. I'm not sure which buttons that is, because it can't be the A button or the B button, it has to be something else. But whatever it is, I'm not deleting my file. And I'm going to go back to the part where the file selection menu is, and I'm going to press the next file to the right after that, which, since this is a new file... Wait, it's not? Oh, maybe it has an already selected name. Let me see. If I click on it, what does it do? Okay, so no matter which file menu, which menu you're in, apparently there's always 3 options. That's a little bit weird. I thought it was supposed to ask you for a name, but I guess not. So now it's doing the introductory thing. I think it just asked me would I like to share some kind of like diagnostic data with a Nintendo or something, but of course my emulator is not connected to the internet and there's no way for it to connect to it anyway. This bird ambience is associated with the introductory screen, so I'm just going to scroll through some of this text and then we'll get started. Rhythm Heaven has been a series that started in 2006, and this game was released in 2015. Or 2016 if you think about the American and European versions. And basically what it does is it combines over 100 rhythm games that have been already available in the older installments of the series and puts them into this one game. Some of them are games that I've played many times already on the other systems. I'm just going to start scrolling through text. Another thing you'll realize is there's sounds that happen when you hold and let go of a button. So like if I just hold it down and let go. See? Now, after a while, it's gonna just ask me to press A few times. And then it's gonna do it with a really weird cue that you have to somehow match. I'm not sure exactly how you do it. Let me see. More text. Camera. There we go. Oh, what? Okay, I see. If you're a tiny bit too early or late, it'll do that. It doesn't really care if you did those or not, because really doing it without music is basically impossible. One thing that you'll notice is sometimes, I'm not sure why this is happening, but certain events in the game have this weird thing where the emulator has to load in some kind of like graphic or whatever, and for that reason it sometimes just pauses for a few seconds. It only does this the first time the event happens, so doesn't do it very often. Okay, so just started playing some beat, and there's going to be like a thing that it's going to do where you have to match the beat and press A at the correct time. Makes much more sense this way. Like this. Like that. No. And one more. So, that's pretty easy. Now, there's one more thing that they're going to quickly talk about here is every level in these rhythm games, most of them have a bunch of different ways of controlling. Sometimes you just press A, sometimes you press B, sometimes you hold. It all depends, but it's usually A, B, and the D-pad, and you, in every single level, there's this thing called a skill star. That sound is just, I'm not actually sure what that is, but it just plays at this point in the text. I think it shows whenever you've done an instruction correctly, the bottom screen will indicate if you are if you're a tiny bit early or late or exactly on beat. Of course, I can't see that, so I just have to hope that it's right, which is a little bit hard. Okay, get ready for another music cue for the skill star. Come on. Do it. There. Skill stars are important in the sense that they show you that you've hit that note perfectly. Because in Rhythm Heaven Megamix Land, there are multiple different ways of getting a hit. I mean, by that I mean, if you miss the note completely, it'll just miss. There's points where you are a tiny bit too early or late, in which case sometimes it counts as a miss, sometimes it counts as a hit. And then other times, when you're in the margin error, you can still get like a hit, but it's not going to be a perfect hit. And that counts towards your score. So a theoretical 100% is possible, but I've never ever gotten 100% on any game, no matter how easy it is. It's basically impossible. One of the only things that I'm ever going to do to use OCR to look at the screen will be to look at the scores that I'm getting. So when I finish a game, I will then look at my score and compare it to the highest score that I've ever gotten on that game, which I have written down. So let's I'm gonna start scrolling through text in earnest now, because we're gonna get introduced to the main character of the story, who's called Tibby, and Tibby likes to talk a lot, and I don't really like to listen to him talk, so I'm just gonna I can't skip this, it's just open. Hey there, Hugh Birds of Happiness, I didn't see you there. Now, here's one thing that you have to get used to, is character voices. By, well, voices, I mean just this. That tit-tit-tit-tit noise. That is when a character is speaking. So the amount of different blips you hear is how long the text is. One other thing you can do is just mash A, and it will... If you press it once, it'll just scroll the whole entire text onto the screen at once, making it easier. So I'm just gonna... So apparently, Tibby has basically fallen from the sky, fallen from this place called Heaven World, and we're supposed to get him back there, which we will do, but along the way we're just gonna play a bunch of other random rhythm games and have more fun that way. Also, this music is familiar to those who've played Fever because it's the practice music in there as well. So you're going to see a lot of returning music in this game. In fact, never mind. I'll get to that later. I'm just going to keep scrolling through this text. There we go. Now, get ready to get our first character introduction for this level, who is this guy. Low-pitched. This is... I'm not sure what he's called, I don't remember. He's like a bee, but he's also like a dog, like a combination of two. And this music plays when you're introduced or when you're leaving a level. Basically, I'm going to talk about the map once we get up to the second level, once we've completed this first set. These first few levels, or these first few, I'm going to call them sets, or worlds, I think, are all 4 games. So 4 rhythm games, and we have to complete those in order to progress. Now, if you may be thinking, you've played Rhythm Heaven series games before, you're thinking, where's the remix? There are remixes, but they come later. Not yet. Those are going to come later. You need to remember that this game is supposed to cater to everyone, meaning that there's really easy games and there's really hard games, and there's games in between. So the beginning part is always the easiest part. A little bit harder to get through the text here. Okay, so we are now introduced to our first, visit to the home screen. Now, the only thing we can do now is press up, and what up does is go did-it, because the games go from left to right, and the sets go from up and down. So you can move between worlds by going up and down. That makes a really cool sound that you'll be able to hear at some point later. So, the only option we have now is to start playing games. Now, the way this works is these first few sets have games in them that are repurposed and shortened versions of other games that we'll be seeing longer variants of later. And the way the order works is always starting with Rhythm Tengoku, then Rhythm Heaven DS, then Rhythm Heaven Fever, and finally a new game from Megamix that we haven't seen yet. So, we're starting off with... Oh, by the way, if you just press A on its own, it'll start the game immediately, so there's no descriptions. The descriptions are when you move over it, it will automatically give you your high score and also a description. First, we start with... Karate Man. Karate Man is quite nostalgic because in Rhythm Tengoku you play this game, it's the very first one you ever play. Now, here's the way this works. You have the practice screens, which you can go through and it will show you what to do. Now, another thing you can do is press start and it will activate the pause menu. From here, if you press down and A, it'll skip the tutorial. If you press up, or if you just press A on its own, it'll return to game. And if you start from this return position, if you press up and A, it'll quit. Just move backward. Now, another thing that Megamix does, besides the skipping tutorial and move to the pause menu, is there's also a restart option, which helps when you are trying to go for a good score and you accidentally miss the skill star or something. A really weird thing about Karate Man is you can press A and it will start going ch. I'm not sure why that is. I think he's just punching. Okay, get ready. Now I'm going to show you something that's really cool. If you miss a bunch of them, this will happen. Notice how it starts clicking like a metronome? If you don't know what to do, when you're in some of the easier games, there's these patterns that will start clicking at you like a metronome, and they will show you what to do. So there's like beat markers, and every time you have to press a button, the click will go higher pitched. Also, you could notice that every time you complete a tutorial segment, it will make a chime, which means you've successfully done what it told you to do. And if you do it too many times, or enough times, it'll do an even cooler chime and fade out. Now, Karate Man has one tutorial section. There's a few other games that have maybe 2 or 3 or maybe even more sections to go through before you're done. There's also some other tutorials that for whatever reason scroll on their own automatically. You can't press A to skip past the text. Okay, so from this point on, I'm going to skip the tutorial because I don't want to just be at the mercy of accidentally pressing A and messing up my score. And I'm going to try to be as quiet as possible while I'm playing these games. At least the earlier ones. For the later ones, maybe I'll start like commentating or something, but I'm going to try to go as close as I can to perfection and see how well I can do. Now, one thing that you're going to have to pay attention to, for one, is every time I'm recording, I have to sometimes restart the emulator, which means those really weird like stops that happen, especially when you get the skill stars and in some other cases, that will happen. So those like random pauses, yeah. And another thing is when you're playing these games, right now, unfortunately, the the game is still a tiny bit messed up in the fact that the music track is a tiny bit running late. So it's normal speed, it's just that the cues come a tiny bit earlier when they're supposed to. So you have to keep that in mind every time I play a game. Okay, let's go. You just press A to punch the things, that's about it. You ready? Hit 3. That's gonna be a very common thing you'll see later. Now, every time a game ends, you'll get these beeps and then this. Depending on what result you get, the rising tone will go as far as the percentage goes and then stop. Now, there's a certain sound that it plays when you get a high score, which was that like weird ching thing at the end. If you don't get a high score, it just makes like a gunshot kind of noise and it doesn't play the ching. And since I did well enough and I hit everything, I got a superb. Superbs are from 80% onwards. If you do less than 80, from 60 to 80, it's an okay. And if you get less than 60, that's a try again. Now, another thing that this will do is increase your coins. Coins are used to pay for things, although not very many things, in my case, because they're mostly visual, and you can also listen to the music tracks. But anyway, there's a few different chimes that you'll hear when you press A at this point. I'm going to quickly talk about what those are. So in this case, you'll hear this series of sounds. So you hear one ding, which means you completed the game. One other ding, which is a little bit higher pitched, that's when you got the skill star for the first time. If you get it for a second time, I'll just do 3 dings. The third ding, in my case, is for no miss, which means I got no perfect, like every perfect hit. Well, I mean, not perfect hit, but like I got every hit. And then it counts up all that, makes like a really cool result kind of chord noise, and then starts counting coins. So in this case, I got 6 coins. Now if you go press A again, it will play that, show the epilogue, which in this case, because I got a superb, it makes that sound. And when you press A again, we'll be back at the select screen. And this is when things get a little bit annoying. There's a lot of random noises, and you just have to scroll through a bunch more text. There we go. When you hear that sound, that means you're back, and you have control now. Now, since we have 2 games, I can move between them by pressing left and right. And I'm gonna now focus on Karate Man and read the screen. Let's just throw some stuff at you for you to punch. 95. That is exactly the score that I have written down, I think. Let me quickly bring that document up. Oh, 97? What? I got 97 once? Really? Okay, interesting. But 95 and 97, like, getting above 90 in my book, especially even if it's a really hard game, that's a good result. So, I'm going to periodically be checking scores. Our next game is Fillbots, and Fillbots is from DS, and my highest score on it is 95. So, let's play it. Whoever's played Rhythm Heaven DS and whoever has a keen ear will notice that the intros have all been redesigned. I don't know why, but they have. And of course the ones from Rhythm Tengoku have definitely been redesigned because they had to have been. Now this game is the first time where you have to start holding the button. Like this.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, I just did that.
Fill her up.
So you hear the thing go fill her up, and you have 1, 2, 3, let go. Now, I'm gonna have some fun and see what happens if you're a tiny bit too early. Oh, that was actually normal. Let's try and... Yeah, that. Now if you do it way too much, it just explodes. Now, one more thing I'm gonna do is wait for it to start clicking. Listen very closely. That's your cue to start holding. Now, listen closely to this. I was too late. I was too early. Now, that's what happens if you get it completely right. I love how the holds have a sound of their own. They start going woo. That is really cool. So if you don't know what you're supposed to do, just follow the metronome, follow the clicks, and you'll get there. Okay, one thing that it doesn't tell you about is the fact that there's big robots as well. You have to fill those up, and when you're on 8 instead of 4 is when you let go. You'll see what I mean. Another thing is that this music is very familiar to those who played Rhythm Rage. Filler Up doesn't exist in the actual game. Okay, here's one thing that is really annoying. My keyboard has this tendency to go, you know what? I'm just gonna stop holding the button. I don't know why, but my keyboard does that. So every now and then, I have to restart the game by pressing down and A, and it'll do that. It's really annoying. 1, 2, 3, 4. You already, here's the big one. There we go. And another big one. Good. So, recap of the rating, it'll start rising in pitch, and then, of course, I hit everything, so I got the superb. Now, here we go again. Ding, skill star, no miss, result, coins. 6 again. Now, the skill star adds 1 more coin, so if you didn't get the skill star, you get 5. No miss does another coin. And then if you're just very close, I think you get like 80 or 85, you only get 3 coins. And if you get a try again, I think that still gives you 1 coin. I'm not sure, I don't remember, I think it does. So, Fillbots has now been completed. And now there's more random text. I am not even going to try to explain exactly what's happening because, to be honest, I don't care. It's just random noises to me. Okay. Now, this part is actually quite important because you're now hearing a new character who has just appeared, who is now gonna introduce. Get ready for the sound. Come on, play the sound. What is it? There. That. That is the cafe. The cafe, I think.
Withholding 0. Situate.
There we go. So the cafe is a side screen that you can only access if you tap the corresponding part on the touch screen, or in this case, I just use my mouse. And I'm going to go through all the text. The cafe is used for a few different things, and I'm going to talk about those once we get to them. I think I'm going to do it somewhere in the ending part, because really, it's not really relevant like right now, but it will be at some point. Now, this screen is divided into 7 sections, and there's certain sections that have more than one thing in them. So every time you hear it go, that's a new section. Now this part, I'm switching between items 2 and 3, and these are in one section. Section 4, 5, and then 6. Oh, 7 doesn't actually exist. Weird. So now there's only 6 items instead of 7. It's supposed to be 7. But if you ever try to click on any of them, they're usually just going to go did it. So yeah, I'm going to get to the cafe sometime later, but it's important for a thing. Let's look at the scores. 94. Not bad. Next on our list is Air Rally 96. This is going to be a little bit hard to beat. Air Rally is in Rhythm Heaven Fever for the Wii. And oh, let me quickly talk about this for a minute. I'm going to go back into the cafe. Now, one thing that you'll not be able to see unless you actually click around stuff is the buttons on the bottom part of the touch screen. Because in here, you can press this button on the bottom right, and it will. So every time I click that, it changes languages. What's cool about this is I can change between English and Japanese, and for the rest of this, I'm probably going to just leave it on Japanese, because I like that much better. In certain cases, I may switch back to English, but I don't really want to do it. Now, another thing is on the bottom part, there's another button, which opens the settings menu. Now, the annoying part about this is that it's completely touch controlled, so you have to tap on different parts of the screen. And one very important thing that you're going to see is in this settings menu that we're going to look at in a minute. Well, not in a minute. I'm going to talk about it in the next part, I think. So that's the settings menu, and we're going to get to that in the next part. So the cafe does have some other uses. So let's do Air Rally, our next game. Air Rally has a few different differences in terms of voice cues depending on which language you have it set to, but I'm just going to leave it on Japanese. Especially because they actually made it worse in the Megamix version of English, I think, but that's only relevant in Air Rally 2, the sequel, not in this first one. So you're playing badminton, and you're just throwing. The cat is throwing the ball, and you're the dog, and you're supposed to hit it back. You have to get all of it correct, otherwise it won't work. Oh, I like that. I like that. Okay, so you're just throwing the. The cat's throwing the ball with it, yeah, and you have to catch it by pressing A at the next beat. And you're just flying planes. I'm not sure why that is exactly, but you are. Now there's this one cue where you have to pay very close attention. Listen carefully.
1, 2, 3, 4. Bum, 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 2, 3, 4.
Bum 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 bum. 2, 3, 4. Bum 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 bum. 2, 3, 4. Every time it says 3 is when you have to press A. Unless there's multiple bum-bum-bum-bums together, which only happens in Air Rally 2. So, never mind. Let's go! One, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. That little click sound is the ball being caught at the very end when it stops flying. Now, I'm not sure if this was intentional. I'm not even sure if it was or not, but when they made this new music for the shortened version of Air Rally, it's the same exact key as it is in Air Rally 2 for when the original one in Fever shows up. What's interesting about that is that the ba-bum bum bum when you're playing in Japanese is actually in the correct key. Like when it's saying ba-bum bum bum, it's as if it's singing it in the exact correct key. So it's even in key, which is really cool. Okay. Complete. Skill star. No miss. Result. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's usually what you're going to be hearing for the first few sections, because it's usually always 6 coins, and I usually don't mess things up. Usually being the key word, because sometimes I do. Okay. One more game to go. Let's look at the score.
I scored 96.
96! I actually got the 96. That is cool. I actually matched one of my scores. Now, I'm not going to be playing games over and over, like, many times. Maybe I will in the later parts of the series. Maybe I'll come back to it and play it again. But I'm probably only going to play these one by one. And just once. Okay, last one. This is the hardest one.
Alright, Catchy Tune 95.
Catchy Tune. My high score is 95. Let's go. This intro, or a lot of the intros that the new games use, are from the older series. There actually aren't very many new intros at all. In fact, there are none, really. The only ones that have been really changed around are the Karate Man intros, I guess. Anyway, we'll get to that when we get to them. Catchy Tune is hard in the sense that you actually have to respond to things coming from the left and the right. And what I mean by that is if you hear it from the left, you press any button on the D-pad, and if you hear it from the right, you press the A button. Because the 3DS controller is supposed to be like that. Now, unfortunately, for me, it's like the other way around, because A is left and D-pad is right, but never mind. So here are the 3 drums and you press A. Now this part is where you can literally let the music go on for as long as you want. Never mind, I spoke too soon, because it just scrolled. Now this is where the D-pad is. 1, 2, 3. You can press left or right or up or down or anything really. Now there's another fruit that you're supposed to catch. I think there's... The first one was like apples or maybe oranges. This is pineapples. Oh, I just missed it. Now it's going to do D-pad as you heard there. So it's alternating. First it's A, and then it's D-pad. If you miss it, it makes a weird noise. In fact, if you miss it completely, it'll just hit you in the face as it falls down the stairs. Okay, get ready. This one is a music track I like a lot. Also, it's a little bit tricky sometimes, you'll see. That's both. And both again. 1, 2. I think I missed the skill star. Left, right. I'm not sure where it is. I'm going to play through the whole thing and see. Left, right. That's alternating. Right, left. Right, left. Right. Left. And... Nope, didn't get the skill star. Which means I'm just going to pause before the very end and just restart the game and try again. There we go. Okay, that was much better. Let's see what score I get. You can also press A to skip that, just like that. And also you can mash your way through this results thing as well. Like that, if you don't want to hear it all. I'm not gonna do that very often, I just showed that you can do that. Okay. Now that we're done with this first set, there's gonna be a bunch more story text and a bunch of other random noises. I just want to check my score, really. That sound indicates that you have completed this set, and you're free to move on to the next one. And in this case, I'm going to leave it here and just look at the score. 96!
Catchy Tune 95.
I actually beat my score.
Tune, U, N, E, code 95 left, correct 9.
So,
T, H, T left, code left, T.
I'm gonna put that in the document and save it.
Situate.
So I actually improved one of my scores. Go figure. So, that was set 1, and most of the other introductory things. There's gonna be a bunch more having to do with the layout of the different screens coming up, but it's mostly gonna be playing more games and having more fun. So I hope you will stick around, and I hope you've enjoyed this first part. I'll see you next time.